What's up, guys? Fantasy Joe back here with some more fantasy football content, bringing you another mock draft Monday. Before I get into this mock draft, though, I just want to say real quick, free agency starting off, I'm going to be uploading a ton of videos about all of the moves that are going to be being made and the impact that they're all going to have on fantasy football. Wherever these guys end up going, the top free agents, I'm going to talk about, how as far as their fantasy situation, where they're going, how it's going to impact that team and that player, as well as the team they're leaving, all that good stuff. But yeah, look out for a ton of content coming your way as we kick off free agency. So yeah, but for the mock draft today, we are drafting from the 9 spot, half point PPR, typical 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex spot league. As always, if this video hits 5 likes or 20 views, I will upload 2 mock drafts next Monday, or I will and I will do a typical, a half point PPR, the typical roster format, and I'll do a 2 quarterback league or a super flex league, some kind of other league, maybe 3 wide receivers, 3 running backs, tight end with a full point PPR, some kind of, different thing. But anyway, let's get into this draft today. Start the draft. Let's hope the app cooperates today. No, I would not like to upgrade. Alright, so let's see how this draft went. Okay, so we started off with Christian McCaffrey, then went with Travis Kelce, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Davante Adams. So, honestly, this brings us, I'm going to be uploading a video about this fairly soon, but I think this brings us to one of the biggest points, and that is Aaron Jones is re-signed with the Green Bay Packers not free agency. Free agency hasn't started. He re-signed with them beforehand. But, with that said, I expect he's been a top 5 running back each of the last 2 seasons going back to Green Bay. I consider him a top 5 running back this season in redraft. And so with the 9th pick, I am going to be selecting him here. It's not too difficult of one for me. I really do like Jonathan Taylor this year. I think Zeke will have a bounce-back year. I just think I like Aaron Jones a lot better than both those guys. So I'm going to take him there, and we're going to see who else we can get in the 2nd round now. Okay, so after we took Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor got drafted, then went Zeke, Tarik Hill. Then the first pick of the 2nd round, we got Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, and then Austin Ekeler. Okay, so let's take a look. Top running backs available still, we have Josh Jacobs, DeAndre Swift, Miles Sanders, Joe Mixon, Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins, Antonio Gibson. Top receivers, we have DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, A.J. Brown, Michael Thomas, Allen Robinson. Not too crazy about the wide receivers. Really would have liked, a DeAndre Hopkins or Stephon Diggs to still be on the board, or an Austin Ekeler, but that's the way it goes. They all went, so we have to decide who we're going to go with, obviously. Okay, so basically I'm debating between... I think I'm going to take Michael Thomas here. And I just think that he's going to have a bounce-back year. I'm really not that worried about him. If Taysom Hill just signed a big extension with the New Orleans Saints. I saw a report saying that they expect Jameis Winston to still be the starter. I'm not so sure how that's all going to work out or what the future holds there. But as long as Jameis isn't the starting quarterback, I think I still believe in... Or as long as Jameis is going to be the starting quarterback, I believe firmly in Michael Thomas. So yeah, let's take Michael Thomas here, and we'll see who we can get in the 3rd round now that we start running back, wide receiver. Okay, let's see. Okay, still available. We got Joe Mixon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, David Montgomery. So a lot of the really good running backs went. Julio Jones is still available. Terry McLaurin. With the backs, man, I would like to snag a Joe Mixon or a Clyde Edwards-Helaire here, but I really do like Julio Jones as well. Man, that is a tough one. I feel like with the running backs that are left, though, if I don't get one of these guys, I'm really going to regret it. So it's really just, who do I like more, Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Joe Mixon? I'm actually going to take Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think. I'll draft him here. I expect him to have a big bounce-back sophomore season. So yeah, we'll take him there. Let's see. Yeah, right after Clyde Edwards-Helaire was taken, Joe Mixon, Julio Jones, Kenny Galladay, Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, Terry McLaurin went. I'm going to snag Mike Evans here. I really like both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin this year. I just feel like there's a really good chance that those two are like the main cooks in the kitchen, if you know what I'm saying. So I think that they're going to get a ton of production this year as far as target volume, and I think that will, turn into fantasy production for them. So I'm going to take Mike Evans here. And so, I started my first 4 picks. We went Aaron Jones, Michael Thomas, Clyde, and then Mike Evans. Okay, we have Mark Andrews is available as far as tight ends. Kenyon Drake. I am going to take Mark Andrews here. I really like him. I think Mark Andrews in the 5th is one of the best values on tight ends in fantasy football. I think George Kittle in the 3rd is probably the best, but Mark Andrews in the 5th is absolutely awesome. He's a guy who could have close to 1,000 yards, double-digit touchdown upside, and I mean, you get him in this pool. It's like people don't consider him in that top tier, which I agree. He's not in the top tier with Kelsey, Kittle, and Darren Waller, but I think he's just outside that tier. And he's probably honestly in a tier all by himself in that second tier before I would put anyone else in there, because I just feel like he is in a kind of class of his own where there's no one who has as solid production as he has, but still isn't quite in that top tier. So I'm going to take him here. And we'll see how our roster turns out taking a tight end in the 5th round. Okay, let's see. I'm going to need a flex spot still. Running back options still pretty limited. Kenyon Drake, Ronald Jones, David Johnson, Raheem Mostert, James Conner. Don't really like any of those players. We have Tyler Lockett, Brandon Ayuk, DJ Chark, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Cortland Sutton. Man, this is a tough one. I'm going to take... I would probably take David Johnson here, but Mark Ingram just signed that deal, and I think that hurts him a good deal, honestly, just that he's going to be splitting work with anybody. If he's not a complete workhorse, I don't really know if I want him in that Houston offense, especially who knows what's going on with Deshaun Watson. You know what? I think I'm going to take Cortland Sutton here, honestly. 6th round might be a little early. You know what? No, I'll take Tyler Lockett. I think even Tyler Lockett, I think his target volume will come down, but 100 rush targets from Russell Wilson is better than 125 targets that Cortland Sutton might get from whoever's going to be the starting quarterback in Denver this year, assuming it's not Deshaun Watson. Okay, so I have Tyler Lockett locked in my flex. I like my starting lineup a lot. I really don't like my running back depth. I think there's a good chance that Tampa Bay goes out and drafts a running back. Maybe they sign a James White in free agency to give Tom Brady that pass catching back. But honestly, if they do sign a James White, I think that's good for Ronald Jones, because that means he can stick around and be that first and second down runner. Especially with the way the running back position has panned out so far, I really have no faith in any of these guys past Ronald Jones as far as having a role last year. Ronald Jones almost had 1,000 yards rushing. I'm going to snag the depth piece here. While I still can get a solid running back in this draft. I think that's one of the things you have to realize in fantasy football is once you get past through, if you don't get a several top backs with your top picks, you're just not going to find them. I mean, you might hit on somebody late, and that's how you win a league, but, it's really hard to do, and you have to get some guys early that are going to be able to, even if you hit on one guy late, you're going to need more than one good running back. So it's just one of those positions you have to prioritize early for sure in fantasy football. Okay, let's see where we're at. So we still haven't taken a quarterback, but we don't need to panic at all. A lot of good options still available here. Right now I'm looking at Devontae Parker or Jarvis Landry in Cleveland. You know what? Man. I'm going to take Devontae Parker just for the upside. I feel like I've got really solid receivers. And so if I'm going to be playing somebody or moving them, Jarvis is a solid piece every week, but Devontae Parker has upside. So for that reason, in the 8th round, I believe, 8th round, I'll take Devontae Parker instead of Jarvis Landry. I just feel like, especially if Odell Beckham is still there, Jarvis's upside is definitely capped, and Devontae Parker, has definitely a less a lower. Actually, Jarvis Landry's floor is much higher than Devontae Parker's, but his ceiling is not nearly as high. So for that's the reason I took him. You know what? Here, I'm actually going to snag Tarik Cohen. I think he's better than RB42. I just think he's going to come back at that third down work for the Chicago Bears and be productive for them. So I'm going to take him here as another little running back depth piece who I could play on bye weeks or stuff like that in the flex as a solid half-point PPR option. This is why I think you wait on quarterbacks. You saw guys like Brady threw 40 touchdowns last year. Matthew Stafford, who's going to the Rams, who I think he should absolutely dominate there. Two really good, solid starting options. I'm just going to keep drafting, loading up on running backs and wide receivers. While I wait to snag one of those quarterbacks late. With this pick, I'm going to take Laviska Shenault Jr. Right now, it's really just him and DJ Chark there in Jacksonville. And with Trevor Lawrence coming in, he had some exciting production as a rookie. I'm going to take him and see, what he could do. Yeah, we are getting towards the end of the draft here. We have a few more picks left. I kind of want to see how far I can just go. If I just keep punting quarterback and quarterback, how long until both, let's say Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford are both gone. Then really what would I be looking at? I would like to snag one of them, but I'm not going to worry about if that were to happen, Okay, here, let's see. Okay, so this is another example of upside versus potential. Honestly, I would probably take Phil. I think Phil Lindsay will probably finish the year as a better running back than Rashaad Penny. I think odds are there's a really good chance he's better than him this year. But with Melvin Gordon still being there, I don't really see Phil Lindsay being, having any chance of being an RB1. Rashaad Penny still was a first-round pick, and there's a chance he's a starting running back for the Seattle Seahawks next year. So I am going to take him here. Just, again, upside. We're in these later rounds. I can cut Rashaad Penny week 1 and just move on, get another bench asset. And so that's why we took him there. Swinging back around, and we have Phil Lindsay is actually still available. So I'm going to take him here. Melvin Gordon has shown injury risk before in the past. If he does go down, like I said, I think Phil Lindsay's a very talented running back. I just don't know if he'll get the work with Melvin Gordon being there, and especially the valuable work because Melvin Gordon's such a beast around the goal line and profiles as more of a pass-catching running back throughout his career. Okay, so let's see. This is where I'm going to take my quarterback here in the 13th round because Stafford is still available, and I really don't like any of these other guys. So I'm going to take him here with my last positional pick in most drafts. I'd be taking defense and kicker next. We won't do that just because there's no reason to. Let's take a shot at some of these guys. I've taken Allen Lazard in a bunch of mock drafts, so we're going to steer away from him. Another guy I think is interesting is Darnell Mooney. With the interesting thing about Darnell Mooney, Allen Robinson recently said he won't sign his franchise tag. Now, by the time we get to the end of the franchise tag window, he's probably going to end up signing it. But you never know. But even with that said, with Allen Robinson drawing the extra attention away from him, and Darnell Mooney showed some flashes, he's a guy, I don't want to put this on him. I'm just saying his style of play is kind of that Deshaun Jackson-esque. He gets some deep targets. So let's take him here, take a flyer on him. Just a talented receiver in a position where he could be a number 1, 2 receiver on a team. Okay, let's take a look at some of these running backs. AJ Green is interesting, especially if he goes somewhere like Green Bay or somewhere. We'll take him. I think he's going to, some team is going to give him a shot to come in and produce. We'll take AJ Green, and then we'll round out our draft. Okay, so let's take a look at our starting lineup. We have a quarterback, we've got Matthew Stafford. At running back, we've got Aaron Jones. At RB2, we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Wide receiver 1, we have Michael Thomas. Wide receiver 2, Mike Evans. We have Mark Andrews as our tight end, Tyler Lockett as our flex spot, Ronald Jones on our bench, Devontae Parker, Tarik Cohen, Laviska Shenault, Rashaad Penny, Philip Lindsay, Darnell Mooney, and A.J. Green to round out our roster. So my thoughts on this team after concluding our draft. I really like getting Mark Andrews in the 5th round, like I said. But what I noticed about this team really is that the starting lineup is super strong. I feel like having Tyler Lockett, he finished last year as a wide receiver 1. Don't expect him to do that in 2021 going forward, but still a solid flex player regardless. But really, after that, I feel like a lot of these bench options, I took a lot of lottery picks just because I wanted 1 or 2 of them to work out, and then I can use the rest of the spots on waiver wire guys, basically. Aiming for some upside, just trying to get some solid guys to help aim this roster out or trade for another piece in the season. But, yeah, I would say I definitely love the starting lineup, but the depth is definitely a bit lacking. If you guys like this video, please hit the like button down below if you made it to this point. Subscribe down below as well. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments, and I will get back to you as always. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And again, if we hit 5 likes in this video or 20 views, I will upload 2 mock drafts next Monday. And look out for all the free agency content that will be coming your way this week. I'll be uploading a ton of content, so get ready. That's it. I'm signing off. That's Fancy Joe. See you guys.